Hello and welcome to our online workshop, The Spiritual and Constructive Dissociation. We are the Matrixers, Jonathan and Shiva. Yes, we want to make this short video to let you know. We finally did it and we created an online seminar for how to learn dissociation. Dissociation is generally viewed in two ways. Exactly, but actually it's our superhero ability. This is what it looks like, and we would like to point this out in the online seminar and of course provide a lot of information and of course technology and practice. We also have to say that we have also built some things into this seminar that provide the necessary impulses to your subconscious so that dissociation is even easier to achieve. And it can even happen that you get into a dissociative state while watching the online seminar. Of course, we have also included many tips and tricks for you, as well as our own dissociation experiences, so that you know what to expect or what you can expect when you get into dissociation, and of course how you can quickly and just go into dissociation. Yes, we now have a small summary for you so that you have an idea of what to expect in the seminar. We would be happy if you are there. Many like-minded people are already at the dissociation workshop, with whom you can exchange ideas at any time. We'll see each other at the online workshop. Until then. Husserl was born in 1859 and died in Freiburg in 19. For the scientists, his guiding principle was actually that one could not arrive at correct results using the methods used by natural scientists as long as one did not use reductive perception. This reductive perception is the ability to switch off one's mental apparatus, including all prejudices, beliefs and the like, in order to arrive at a more objective result in a study, for example. Yes, and the reductive perception that Husserl mentioned is actually quite similar to dissociation. This means that dissociation is an ability to do exactly what Husserl spoke of, namely to temporarily stop or to stop one's thoughts. Stop or disable. The mind is deactivated and at that moment you experience a completely different state of consciousness in which you can absorb all information in a completely neutral way. Thoughts are electromagnetically charged and thinking uses up most of your energy. And then, of course, this energy is no longer available to get into expanded states of consciousness. That is why dissociation or constructive dissociation is there to turn off one's thought apparatus at will and thus store the electromagnetic energy that would otherwise be lost through the thoughts. And then you can use it for many things. Yes, and in science, in sleep research, for example, it is assumed that you use around 80% of the energy that you have available every day just for thinking. And they reckon around 60,000 here thoughts we think every day. And 60,000 from an energetic point of view, thoughts can already cost a lot of energy. And that's why dissociation is so important, because dissociation gives us the opportunity to conserve this energy. As I said, for other activities or to get into higher states of consciousness, to gain self-knowledge, to gain enlightenment, to change one's reality, to change it constructively. And that's what makes dissociation so attractive. Yes, absolutely. Dissociation can also be used for out-of-body experience or lucid dreaming, because all a person actually needs is energy, and he uses most of the energy for thinking. And because of that, we feel that dissociation is also the master technique, the best technique that you can actually use to conserve energy and then use that energy for the states that we've been talking about right now. And one thing is certain. Once you have used dissociation, you will not see the world as you saw it before, but in a very positive way. Yes, and that's why dissociation really is, we think, the best technique that can be used alongside mind-expanding substances. Of course, in these online seminars we also talk about all the possibilities and tools to achieve dissociation. Techniques how to achieve dissociation. And of course we also have to explain everything that can be done with dissociation, what the levels of dissociation are and what is possible with dissociation in a materialistic sense. This applies to those of you who do not necessarily want to use it spiritually, but simply for your personal or, in quotation marks, egoistic goals in reality, against which there is nothing to be said against. Because in reality you just need money and a roof over your head, something to eat. And nowadays not everyone has that anymore, or only to a very small extent. And that's why it's of course interesting to use it for your everyday reality, to store energy and then channel it into your personal goals. The spiritual or constructive dissociation. We have chosen two terms. The spiritual dissociation is more for those of you who just want to continue on your spiritual path and also want to achieve success faster now. And the term constructive dissociation is just for those of you who are not necessarily spiritually oriented, more scientifically oriented. And that is why we will now compare the two types of dissociation. Spiritual dissociation. It's all about using dissociation to achieve a state in which the thoughts and ideas that you have in your head, the imagination, come to a standstill. That the thoughts can then no longer penetrate objectively for a certain period of time, are no longer active. We're not talking about hours here, but at most about seconds and minutes, which you just have to achieve. Of course, when you talk about dissociation in the spiritual scene or in the scientific scene, people often make their hair stand on end and say, "What? I should learn that." Dissociation is our misunderstood but secret superhero ability. I suppose there is a bit of propaganda behind it, because the path of dissociation shows how the world really is. And there are certain forces in this world that just don't want us to know who we really are or what the world is really like either. And that will also be the reason why dissociation is portrayed so negatively in science and psychology. Just it. What happens in a dissociative state? You feel like you're not me anymore. That's where it starts. Why should a human being enter a state of consciousness, in which he suddenly believes that he is not himself, that he might be someone else? Or he doesn't even know where he is and realizes that he isn't who he was told he was. That's where it starts. Or the dissociative state, in which one has the feeling that one is not alone in oneself, but that there are several personalities in one or parts of one's personality that were previously only subconscious and are suddenly raised to consciousness. Yes, what happens there in the dissociation? It then becomes quite obvious that everything has a very spiritual character as far as self-discovery is concerned. Who are you really? Where do you come from? What are you doing here on this planet? And all these questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? What's the meaning of my life? All of these questions suddenly become quite acute within a dissociative state. Suddenly they are core questions. And before that, in the normal everyday state, one may philosophize a bit about it, but then one discards the topic again and doesn't ask oneself that either. And that's when you notice that in a dissociative state, the really important questions are suddenly activated. And because of that, you can already observe here that the dissociation pushes you a bit on your spiritual path. Yes, that's the exciting thing about dissociation. And the dissociation then shows us much more. In certain states you get the feeling that the people around you are not real. We live in a matrix. Yes, or the houses that are perceived, or the surroundings seem like a backdrop, as if it weren't real at all. Yes, what is happening there? Does he suddenly start to go crazy, or does he learn to question reality with the help of the dissociation that has occurred? To question his physical senses, to question where he is here, how he got there, and whether the environment is suddenly not an illusion after all. And all that occurs in dissociation are definitely marks of an expansion of consciousness. So that means dissociation is a means of expanding consciousness.